Hi, welcome once again to Senior Focus. I'm your host, Bill Adams. Senior Focus comes to you a couple times each month through channel 20 and 100 on Armstrong Cable. And thanks to Greg Roten, Director of Community Programming for Armstrong. And once again, we're outside on a beautiful fall day here at above Lake Glacier at the Davis Visitor Center and Mill Creek Metro Parks. And a thank you to Keith Kaiser, who allows us to film the show here. Keith, Senior Focus is designed for people over the age of about 50, but you don't have to be 60 or 70 or 80 to to use the information that we provide to you. In fact, today this could apply to all members of the family. We're going to talk about senior driving and some of the ways that seniors could practice their skills and maybe improve their driving, and just some of the things to look out for. And we're really happy to have an expert in the field. We have Lori Cook. Lori is with the AAA in Cleveland, Ohio, but she covers all of northeastern Ohio. She's what, safety advisor?
Safety advisor there, correct.
Thanks. Welcome to the show.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Why don't you describe, maybe just start off with your job and what you do, and then we could talk more specifics about senior driving.
Okay. I've been with AAA 23 years, and all of that time I've been a traffic safety professional there.
Mm-hmm.
I do anything from helping people put child safety seats in their vehicles to going to schools and doing programs for Halloween safety and training safety patrols, and all the way up to senior drivers. So all ages I cover, and I do that in about 6 or 8 counties in northeast Ohio.
And again, if you want to contact Lori or you want to get in touch with AAA, of course they're over on Route 224 in Boardman, and they can get you in touch with her up in the Cleveland area. Well, what about seniors and driving? What are some of the things that, I know there are a lot of, stereotypes maybe about seniors, but what are some of the things that you try to tell people when you approach this subject, when you talk to them?
Well, I think, Bill, one of the major things I like to start with is that there isn't anything special about the age at which the state of Ohio allows us to start driving.
Mm-hmm.
And there certainly, at the opposite end of the spectrum, isn't anything specific about when you should stop. Only a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from a gal who had some concerns about her mother, and I said, how can I help you? And she said, well, I think my mother should stop driving. And I said, well, why? And she says, well, she's 72. I says, well, what happened? Well, nothing, but she's 72. So age isn't alone any reason to stop driving.
Right.
You have to certainly look at physical changes. You have to look at vision is huge. If you look at the entire senior driving population, we're talking probably 65 and older, they have 17 times the crash rate of anybody from 17 up to 65 do.
Okay.
If you look at just the aging driving population in general, by the year 2020, we're going to have 65 million Americans over the age of 65, and most of them are going to be driving. So I like to think AAA is in a position to give people enough information to make an educated and independent decision of what should I do differently, maybe how I should limit my driving, and then maybe somewhere down the line, let's face it, we're all going to have to stop driving. But I think most seniors would tell you, and they tell me, that they don't want their children to decide. They don't want their minister, their rabbi, their priest to decide, or certainly not the police or the judge. Mm-hmm. They want to decide. They want it to be their decision.
Yeah, and especially in our country, we're so dependent on the automobile, and we have some public transportation, but really not enough that we really should have. So you could see that the car is a real vital part of a person's life, and so when you go to try to train folks who are older, or
mm-hmm.
you teach the classes, what are some of the things you talk about, say, in your driver's ed classes for seniors?
Probably one of the first things is we look at their driving position. And
mm-hmm.
if I can demonstrate
Sure.
We've all heard the jokes about the little old lady driving down the road looking for the steering wheel. Mm. It's probably because they're not sitting up high enough in the seat. That's
okay.
a huge issue with seniors. They may not even be aware that they have a 6-way or an 8-way power seat. Maybe nobody at the dealership showed them that when they purchased the car, or they just haven't thought about it. But, we like seniors, the general rule of thumb for everybody, and particularly for them, is that the top of your steering wheel should never be higher than the top of your shoulders.
Okay.
And if you have tilt steering, we don't want it tilted at your face. We want it actually tilted at your torso. We want this part of your body where all your vital organs are located to be protected by that. Another thing we talk about is hand position. I sometimes cringe when I see people up here at 10 and 2. You and I probably remember learning that way.
That's what I was told.
That's no longer the case.
Okay.
We've gone from 10 and 2 down to 9 and 3, and actually now we're at 8 and 4. Because this is a lot more relaxed when someone drives. Think about if you had to drive a couple hundred miles with your arms up in the air. And when you start to move your hands down, your elbows actually start to rest on your rib cage. We no longer have the large diameter steering wheels that today's seniors had back in the 40s and the 50s. You know, where they were very wide, no one had power steering, and you had to do all that hand-over-hand steering.
Right.
We don't teach that anymore. We actually teach something called push-pull-slide steering or shuffle steering, where we actually manipulate the bottom of the steering wheel, so they don't even have to take their hands off of the steering wheel. So we talk about that. We talk about mirror adjustments. Most people, and not only seniors, but especially them, they may not have the range of motion in their necks to turn over their shoulder and look in their blind spot to actually see if a car is there.
Sure.
So we tell them to adjust their mirrors outward, so that you're no longer seeing the side of the mirror or the car in your mirror, but you're seeing more of what's behind and off to the sides. So that's one of the things we bring up. If they have issues with just that area behind them, they can actually get a wider mirror. This is the normal size inside rear view mirror, and you can actually purchase a convex extended mirror, which curves the area behind you so you can see wider angles and you can see more of what's going on behind you. So very helpful for seniors that don't have range of motion, and again for other people that have those same limitations.
I think another modification I saw online when I was looking at the AAA website is for shorter people. You know, and again, seniors tend to get shorter as they age. I've gotten shorter. I think everybody
We shrink a
does.
little bit.
And so if you can't reach the pedals, there are some extenders for that, I
Correct.
believe.
You can contact your dealership, and they should be able to order those for you. And similar to, you know, when we all taped wooden blocks to our children's tricycles so that their feet could reach the pedals. Because the other issue is that we want seniors to be able to reach the pedals, Bill, but we don't want them so close that they're right on top of the airbag.
Sure.
We want them to be no closer than actually 10 inches away from the airbag when they drive.
And another issue I think was for people who are shorter, they tend to maybe just bring a cushion from home or a pillow or something like that. But that's not necessarily the best thing. You want something fitted that doesn't slide. Is that
something that doesn't slide? If they have a power seat and they can raise it up, again, it's the whole line of sight over the top of the steering wheel. We tell our older drivers that we want a 3-inch line of sight over the top of the steering wheel. There's a couple ways to achieve that. If you have a power seat, you can raise it up.
right?
If you don't have a power seat, you can purchase what's called a wedge cushion. Very helpful for people. If you notice it's got a cutout in the back, this takes the pressure off the lower spine and alleviates some back pain, but it lifts them up higher. If you don't want it to do something like that, you can customize it yourself to the shape of your own vehicle seat. Go to a fabric store, buy some very dense foam, cover it with material, and sit on that. And that will bring you up. The reason being is that I see seniors that the shoulder harness is coming across their neck. So they go and purchase one of these fuzzy, soft covers so that it doesn't bother them anymore. The issue is that, not that it bothers them, but it's here to begin with. It shouldn't even be across their neck.
The wrong position.
Well, it's like I tell young drivers that you have to remember belts across bones, that your shoulder harness should actually be across your collarbone and your lap belt should be across your top of your hips.
Yep. Okay.
Because the bones protect your body in a crash, your internal organs, that is.
Now, besides some of the size issues and fitting a person to the car, there are a lot of other issues, again, for seniors, and I just, one that comes to mind is something like medications that people might use.
Oh, sure.
If you want to talk maybe a little about that.
Well, I think as we get older, we're not only taking more medications, we're taking more medications from different physicians. And we like to think that each doctor knows what the other doctor is prescribing, and that's not always the case, but maybe the pharmacist is the best person, that because all your prescriptions get filled usually at one pharmacy and they can keep track of some of the interactions. But no driver should be afraid to ask, well, how is this going to affect my driving, or should I maybe wait and not drive when I'm first taking this medication? 2 summers ago I had a conversation with a trooper over here in Mahoning County, and he said he had noticed what he initially thought were alcohol-impaired drivers, and when he pulled them over, they were actually seniors who had medication issues.
Oh, boy.
So that's starting to creep up a little bit. So you really need to keep on top of things with your physician and your pharmacist of how these things are going to affect your driving.
Right. Some of them could make you drowsy.
They could certainly make you drowsy.
Like with sleeping aid type things.
Sleeping aid type things. Some of the antidepressants too make you drowsy. Cold preparations,
Well, even
a lot of things.
even something like a blood pressure medication.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that could slow down your whole metabolism.
All right.
And then you have other medical conditions. You know, things like diabetes and things like that people have to again be aware of. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily rule people out from driving completely, but
Oh no, it maybe makes them modify their driving. You know, you and I know that in bad weather, if we don't really have to go somewhere, it's probably not a good idea to go.
Right.
Seniors can start, limiting themselves, and because of their vision issues, sometimes they just no longer feel comfortable driving at night, and take nighttime driving coupled with a rainy night. That the glare issue is huge for seniors, particularly sometimes. Post-cataract surgery, they find that annoying. They find the xenon, the bluish headlights that you've seen on the road past you, particularly annoying to senior drivers. So the whole vision issue, I advise them always to keep up on your exams with your eye care professional and make sure that you're seeing as best as you can when you drive down the road.
Yeah, I believe I read that something even like a 50-year-old is maybe 10 times or more than that affected by the glare than somebody in their 20s or 30s. So this isn't just pertaining to people maybe in your 80s or 90s, but starting 40s or 50s.
If you take a 60-year-old driver needs 3 times as much light to drive as a teenager does. And that's why when we start hitting our early 60s, we start finding it bothersome to drive at night. We're just not comfortable doing it anymore. So driving doesn't have to be all or nothing. Maybe you just limit yourself. And, summertime is beautiful, and it's a wonderful time for seniors because it stays lighter longer. You can do more and you can start earlier. But when winter comes, it makes it very challenging to try to get to places because it's dark at 5 o'clock.